What was the scandal at your high school college job? Catholic school. Father T got a student pregnant. We all thought he was gay, so that was a surprise. The ol' switcheroo. Our vice principal stole a ham from the local supermarket. That has to be a great conversation starter at parties. Our principal divorced his wife and married a girl who had graduated from the school like not even a year before, so technically legal. 20 years later and they're still married, and he's won educator awards lol. I once worked in a very rural area with identical twins, steel working, hardcore guys. The one twin's wife had an affair with the other and had a child. Genetic testing couldn't tell the difference between the two potential fathers, so they took it to Maury. Highly entertaining. Would watch again if I could find it. Thanks for the memories, Arkansas. Fellow Arkansans, wish we make TV for something less trashy. Student in my high school math class tried to get our teacher fired when her mark wasn't high enough. Her mom happened to be a superintendent who was best friends with our principal, but thankfully he didn't get canned. He was a great teacher. I think he lost the gig teaching AP math though. Sounds like a stuck-up B of a student. One of the teachers was caught drunk driving and spinning his car in circles on the highway one night. He was forced to retire the next week. High school. Someone took a circular saw to the ceiling and made a hidden room in the roof of the school. Had carpets, a mini fridge, and some furniture. Always stocked with food. Great place to be, until the administration caught on. My dad works for our city's school board and I remember him coming home telling a story like this. He went to a school to plan some renovations and they found a fort with couches and fridges, but there was no floors. They'd been up in the rafters above the auditorium. My dad was pretty impressed lol. In college, we had the pillow rapist. Basically, in the dorms, a girl would go to shower and leave her door unlocked. A pillow rapist would go into the room and jerk off on her pillow and turn it over. He got caught because a girl came back to her room for something she forgot. We also had a peeping Tom in the girls' showers. That guy broke his leg when he ran away and jumped off a second-story balcony. Fun fact, he wasn't a student. That guy broke his leg when he ran away and jumped off a second-story balcony. The John Wilkes Booth method. Back in high school, my two band directors were having an affair with each other. They thought they were subtle, I guess, but everyone in the school knew. They were always in the office with the blinds closed, or off taking long lunches with each other. At band competitions and trips they would disappear for hours. Of course they were both married with young children. Eventually they decided to both move into the same neighborhood and go work at a different school together. I often wonder if this affair is still going on. I'm pretty sure at least one of them is still married. Worked at a grocery store in high school. Our store manager had an affair with the Coca-Cola vendor. His wife found out and came into the store screaming, "I want everyone to know what you did to me," made a huge scene. The store manager dragged his wife out of the store by her throat and was promptly fired. Not sure whatever happened to that Coca-Cola vendor. Sells Pepsi now. Our computer science teacher was a perv. He had a student stay after class so he can beat off in front of her. In high school, one of the weird kids was caught finger banging his girlfriend in the courtyard during class. Said courtyard was surrounded by 3 stories of classrooms with open windows. They were not subtle at all. People called him the Four-Finger Assassin for the rest of the year. Four-Finger Assassin. What a dope band name. 3 guys were hospitalized after a wino in the town managed to sell them denatured ethanol as moonshine. The same stuff you put in your car for washing the windshield. I don't know if he had made it somehow a bit more agreeable by some trick. Probably. A year later someone tried to burn down the entire school. But whoever started it either was a real freaking idiot or just hated the shop class teached. But they started the fire in the one class that is completely fireproofed from the rest of the school. Because shop classes were to that kind of accidents without arson. Had a girl in high school lie about banging a teacher. He was gone for a few months before they caught her lying about it. Felt bad for the dude. Sophomore year we found out some upperclassmen boys had compiled a collection of nudes of girls and were passing around a list of them to other boys. They were selling access to them apparently. with higher prices for more desirable girls. It was pretty fricked up and a lot of them were suspended and expelled from athletic programs they were in. We used to have this crazy hot teacher who would always wear little skirts to a boys' school, and some dudes would take photos up her skirt and sell them to other dudes. It became a thing that everyone perved over her, and one day a guy saw a bra in the backseat of her car and he got caught breaking in to steal it. Teacher and principal had a lesbian affair. One of them was married. Same happened at my school, except it was two teachers. The married one's husband killed both of them before killing himself. Choir teacher at my fairly prestigious high school was embezzling money from the choir department through overcharging students for travel, concerts, field trips to fund his gambling addiction. Ended up stealing over $60,000 over the course of about 20 years. Also, one of the high school teachers was trying to hook up with underage girls. One of them ended up being an undercover cop. He had a pregnant wife who worked in the same district at my elementary school. She's a wonderful woman and I felt terrible for her. I thought undercover cops posing as high school kids was something you only saw in movies. Guy got forced into resigning from his position at work. He was a big shot in the company. His father worked here for decades. Then he came in and worked here for at least 2 decades. Guy was a big butthole, loved to push people around, belittle them, berate them over trivial junk. He was slated to become president of the company, but I think most of the workforce declared they'd quit if that happened, which would completely put the company out of business since most of those guys are skilled labor. I also have a sneaking suspicion that he may have been involved in an ethics violation, but I've never asked the other people whom I think are involved. There was an assembly with all 1,500 plus high school students. The new student body president and the other seniors that held positions put on a skit, each class did, where they made fun of a freshman girl. Apparently the girl gave an upperclassman a BJ on a party bus. For the skit they all walked around in a circle with a sign that said party bus and met up with other people who were drinking Slurpees from 7/11 and watching a movie that rhymes with her last name. Like 20 kids got suspended. My co-worker had been married to a man who allowed her to pay off her student loans and supported her for years. After years of trying for a baby, she was finally pregnant. Yay. Cue to rumors going around how people saw her staying late in the big boss's office and how she was seen running from his car in the early morning before work. Eventually she has the baby and months later says that her husband got a job back home. Which is odd because his field is so specialized that it can only be found in a few pockets around the country. She moves home and Big Boss quits his job to work for another local organization. She moves back and has another baby. Yay. Turns out, both babies were her boss's and she had divorced her husband before she even had the first baby. She's a really good secret keeper, that one. Butthole rich kid was doing donuts in the student parking lot. Fricked up and crashed into 2 other cars. Relatively minor damages, but he lied and said he just accidentally turned into them despite numerous witnesses. Needless to say, he is now even more hated and no longer allowed to park on campus. These 2 girls were straight A student types. One day a teacher does something to pee them off. I can't remember exactly what. Something to do with not giving them extra credit because they didn't follow the instructions to the letter. He had 2 goldfish in his classroom that he took care of for a long time. Years, and they were pretty big if I remember. He comes in one day and one of them is stabbed into the wall or a desk with a note that says give us the extra credit or the other one gets it. From what I heard, he was pretty heartbroken. The 2 girls got very mild punishment because of their good grades. One of my friends and I bought him another fish as a gesture afterwards, but I think it may have been too soon because he seemed kinda perturbed when we brought it in. Holy crap, that's fricked up. Some of the girls created a burn book straight out of Mean Girls. I'm not kidding. Some of the wonderful highlights of this book were claiming that one of the only LGBT+ was making it up for attention, calling a right-wing leaning kid the next Hitler, stating that one of the kids needed to be hit by a truck, and my personal favorite, said the girl whose mum had been murdered needed to just get over it and stop begging for attention. Needless to say, they had a huge target on them once it got found out. A young woman who lived in one of my college's on-campus dormitories had something of an interesting sexual fetish, and she wound up getting kicked out as a result of it. That may seem like an overreaction, but, well, let me explain. About a month into my first semester of attending a university, rumors started circulating that some odd characters had been seen haunting the residential areas. Their descriptions had a tendency to shift depending on who was talking about them, but one detail, the fact that they all looked homeless, stayed the same. Furthermore, these individuals always seemed like they were interested in one particular building, sometimes approaching people who lived there and asking to be let in. Someone in a position of authority finally took notice of this trend, and after a round of particularly pointed questions, the truth of the matter came out. One of the students, the young woman that I mentioned, had been going out into the city, finding homeless men, and bringing them back to her dormitory. At that point, she would bathe them, share a pizza with them, and then sleep with them. They would be sent on their way the following morning. But as you can imagine, the prospect of sex and snacks was enough to prompt inquiries for repeat performances, which ultimately led to the location becoming a veritable Shangri-La for street people. When the girl was found out, a joke went around that she would be joining her former flings in their cardboard boxes. TLDR, a young woman was running a full-service homeless shelter out of her dormitory. Rich kid was class pres and was really popular with the girls. Got into college and couldn't handle the transition too well. Started doing coke, got addicted, got busted, kicked out of college, moved back home, and nobody has heard from him since. Supposedly he is going to rehab and works as a ranch hand on his dad's farm. High school, our class valedictorian had an affair with our recently divorced history teacher and cheated on her math tests. Was still able to be valedictorian as the investigations continued past the end of grading for the semester. College, anonymous guy would flash female joggers in broad daylight on busy streets and run away. Police never caught him. There was also some creepy clown sightings and a pyromaniac lighting doors on fire in the dorms. Never caught either. Job, my department at work has to cooperate with a certain city official who thinks arsenic in drinking water is totally okay, talks down to women no matter their job, and has caused so much drama shouting matches at meetings we sometimes hold secret meetings to actually get work done on the project he's tried to stall for a few years now. During a prep rally there was a contest for the best skit. People did pop culture references, funny skits, etc. Until two dumb fricks decided to do a skit of Chris Brown beating Rihanna in blackface. We made the national news and now that contest is no longer running. What always surprised me is people were more outraged about the blackface than attempting to make fun of domestic abuse. So you are saying someone saw them walk on stage in blackface and said, well, let's see where they are going with this. We ran out of tea at work and one of the ladies told the office manager that this is the second time. He told her to go frick herself in front of everyone else and he wasn't going to go to Shoppers to buy her tea. She's have to wait for the order to come in. She got mad, bitched to the office about how terrible he is at his job. Little does she know everyone loves the office manager. Great guy. The office also turned on her because she uses 3 tea bags at a time. We also had a meeting that day where there was extra sandwiches. She hovered around the boardroom till they brought out the extra sandwiches and promptly packed up 3 to 4 to save for her lunches this week. Everyone else had to share extra salads and carrots without dip. She has now been blacklisted. We all stood around and ate the no dip carrots bitching. I made a throwaway because this would totally dox me in real life. I work at a small college and there are very few faculty members. One day, one of the professors we were working with just disappeared in the middle of the semester. Like, he was teaching classes one day and then gone the next. No information about where he went, or why or what happened and if he was coming back. He even won the award for Best Professor of the Year and a colleague just accepted it for him and was like, this would mean so much for him. So like, almost a year goes by and everyone is still thinking maybe this guy is coming back because no one ever says. Anyway, one day we get to work and everyone is freaking out because this guy is on the front page of the paper for distributing child pornography. Bad enough. Except then later a story is published that states he wasn't a pedophile. He was a closeted married Mormon guy and what he would do is go onto chat rooms and impersonate being a 12-year-old girl to get these guys to expose themselves to him. So he was essentially just using the illicit photos because he didn't want to be gay, because that was too much for him. It was pretty much the stupidest crime and he blew his whole life over it. Whoa, if he had said he was a 18-year-old girl, it would have worked as well. My form teacher was a pedophile. It came out that he was living with a 13-year-old girl, a friend's daughter apparently. He was in his late 50s maybe. He was disgusting. He made our skin crawl. He was always asking the girls in our class to help him sort the store cupboard out, but the boys would always volunteer and never let us near him. We were only 11, but I'll be forever grateful to the lads in class who protected us. The teachers knew something was off. He volunteered to drive me and 2 friends to sports day once when he overheard us telling the receptionist that the bus had left without us. Another teacher was nearby and interrupted him. He said no, he wasn't letting us get in his car and the other teacher would take us in the school minibus. God knows what would have happened if we had been forced into the car. As 12-year-olds you feel like you have to do what a teacher tells you. Someone from the school called a girl's parents because she was dating a black guy. This was in 2008. A teacher was fricking a student at school. A teacher was fricking a student at college. My boss was stealing from the employees at work. That I was having an affair with an intern. I wasn't. Can almost guarantee that the rumor was started by another employee jealous that the intern gave you any sort of attention, but wasn't as friendly with them. This one is more of a church community scandal than a school or job one. An old friend of mine recently got married. The man she married is 1. 15 years older than her and has 3 children. 2. The minister who performed her first wedding. 3. Her youth group minister when she was 11 years old. Wow, the trifecta. My high school algebra trig teacher had 5 children. 1 was her husband's. She had a habit of sleeping with troubled students who needed help passing. Currently, we're about to put an expansion on our building, and a large, vocal minority of employees want that extra money to go into raises and bonuses. Management will not budge. There was a math teacher at my school that was obviously more friendly with some students than others and would often stop class when a player on the basketball team would come to talk to her. Everyone knew something was up, and when she got caught they found out it was 8 of the 15 players on the basketball team. Needless to say she was fired, but her husband, who still worked there and was a coach for the girls volleyball team, was still there for the rest of the semester. Thing is, our basketball team won the state championships back to back while this was going on, and after she was fired we haven't come close. One way to keep up morale. A girl got promoted within 6 months of being hired. She had no experience in this field, is like 23, and not anything special. Everyone thought she and my supervisor were sleeping together. She would stay late in his office, was always physically close, constantly texting and tattling to him for every tiny thing. Apparently both of them left their fiancés for each other, and she is 6 months pregnant, which is about when she got promoted. I think she was still with her fiancé at the time of conception. Oh yeah, it's Facebook official, and the company owner claims to have founded his company on Christian values. Aside from teachers freaking students, there wasn't really anything huge that happened, but one time the janitor got part of his finger chopped off while working with a lawnmower and the ag students had to go look for it. Our purchasing director is a snobby bee and always talks down on everybody who doesn't kiss her butt. She especially hates our production workers or anybody that works in the manufacturing side of our facility because she thinks they are all idiots. Well, we had a huge 20th anniversary party for our company where the owner rented rooms for every employee at the Marriott in Dallas and provided unlimited food and booze all weekend long, including Friday. This lady got super trashed with one of the production workers, and mind you, she's 20 plus years his senior. He took her upstairs because she couldn't walk and she proceeded to vomit all over both of her beds and began to strip naked. He called housekeeping to help get her covered up and change her sheets so he could leave. The next day we went out to dinner and she was a no-show. I haven't heard much from her since everything went down, but I know she knows everyone and the back is aware of what happened. Counterfeiting ring. I was 15 and apparently the ringleader. I got searched by local, state, and the Secret Service without parents being notified. I tried to spend a counterfeit dollar, which was obviously counterfeit, but did not notice because I am an idiot. When I saw it, my argument was I could make a better one than that. 10 days suspension for being a smartest idiot. The fact you spelled counterfeit as counterfeit should help with your case tremendously. We had a new math teacher at my middle school. He was kind of intimidating but taught well. One day, some 6th grader was messing around in computer lab and decided to start googling teachers. Turns out the new math teacher had killed his father in a murder-suicide pact but hadn't done the suicide part. He had been charged but let out after 2 years. This was a private school. Why they never did a background check still confuses me. He eventually was found out and fired. When someone hacked into someone else's computer and created a Google Doc with a picture of Deadpool, then one tard blew it up and said that someone sent an email to a teacher that said frick you. They made a full-on investigation, monitored all of our emails, and even had a cop come and talk about it. It was all basically made up. Our passwords were all one. This sounds like a story told by Creed Bratton. In high school, someone got a hold of a bunch of nudes of girls from every grade, then made an Instagram account under the username acronym of School Exposed. Finally, they started posting a couple and no one was caught. Girls basketball coach quits when star senior graduates, moved to Utah, start family. He was in his late 30s and it was pretty gross. Principal took a kid's phone for texting during class. He didn't have a lock on his phone, so principal got on it and started texting the kid's girlfriend asking for nudes. The kid was with his girlfriend at the time and told their parents. It became a huge thing. Principal got put on paid leave and then next year stayed on as principal and still is today. Guess it pays off when you have friends in high places. You have been visited by the romantic doggo. Comment love is magic so you never fall in the friend zone. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.